Hi, this is Chrissy Tobis. I'm doing a project here for Crafter's Companion. It's this little dragonfly card you see here. I created it using the Stamp It Dragonfly Delights, which is available in the Crafter's Companion store. Here's a little peek at the one on the right. It shows you some of the dragonfly images that are on there. It's a great set. I use it all the time. So first I'm going to take one of these stamps. It's kind of like a background stamp. It's just a bunch of text and a little script font. It's really pretty. You can use it for so many different things. And I'm going to take Distress ink. It's called Pumice Stone. And I'm going to stamp that on the card base. The pumice stone is great because it's a soft gray. So not only can you use it for backgrounds like what I'm doing now, but you can actually also use it, it's even dark enough that you can use it as a main sentiment on a card. I've done that before too. Distress inks are so cool. You don't have to be distressing to use them. You don't have to make, like an aged project or anything like that. Now I am going for that look for this particular card, but you don't have to. You can use them for so many things. There's a ton of them available in the Crafter's Companion store. So what I'm doing is I'm stamping them next to each other. I'm not necessarily aligning them perfectly, but they're pretty close. I'm using this awesome acrylic black that is also in the Crafter's Companion store. I love it because not only is there a grid on there to help me align everything, but it really does stamp well. For the longest time I was using like a cruddy black that I had gotten at a craft store, and I used to blame the stamps, thinking that it was the stamps not stamping well, and it wasn't. It was my black. So kind of on a whim I ordered this, and now I cannot stop using it. I use it even for small stamps because it just stamps so well. It is so clean. I love it. So you can see I did the background here. I'm using a non-stick craft mat on the back or underneath, so it's protecting my surface. That's also by Ranger, just like the Distress ink. So here it is, the pumice stone. I'm getting my little dragonfly ready, but I'm not going to stamp him just yet, just aligning him on my grid. So one of the super cool things about Distress inks is the way that they react to water. You can blend them like watercolors if you want. There's all kinds of fun things. You can flick water on them, do all kinds of stuff. So what I want to do is I kind of just want to soften that ink. So I sprayed some water off to the side, and then I'm using a watercolor pen. Now, for the watercolor pens, you can fill them with water. I don't like to because I feel like I have more control when I'm just dipping in a cup or using water off to the side here. But, I mean, you can fill it with water. I used to do that. I just realized that I could just do it this way and wet the brush instead of having the water push through and have a little more control. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm realizing that I'm not quite getting enough of the blur that I want, that I'm looking for. So instead, I'm just going to spray it with water and then go back in, and this blends it a little bit more. I just kind of wanted to soften it up and blur it up a little bit. And then I'm going to go in and use a heat gun just to dry everything up, because I don't want to wait 20 minutes or an hour or whatever it's going to be for my paper to dry. I'm very impatient. So just using my heat gun real quick on the front and back. I did both sides because I don't want the paper to start buckling. If I only do one side, sometimes it buckles. So I do try to do two sides. And if I have time, I also would put it in between two books and let it sit for a while, but I don't want to do that. So here I'm going to stamp the dragonfly using Tuxedo Memento Black ink. Gonna ink up my little stamp on the black. I love this dragonfly. He's so cute. And I'm gonna stamp him in the upper quadrant. And there he is. Then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna stamp. It's just like a little saying. It's not necessarily a sentiment. It's just a description of the dragonfly, which is pretty neat. So again, I'm gonna align him using the grid that's on the black because that grid is totally cool. Makes my life so much easier. I'm just going to stamp it in the lower right hand corner. Boom. So now I'm going to, that's the black, by the way. It's great. I'm going to pull out my Spectrum Noir markers, and I'm going to start coloring in not just the dragonfly, but I'm going to color the area around him too. I really like the look when there's kind of like a halo around images. So since I love turquoise, I'm going to use some of the turquoise colors from my Spectrum Noir set. So I'm using BT1, BT2, and the blender. And I'm speeding this up. Hopefully it's not too fast for you, just so you don't have to sit here for forever and watch me color because I'm kind of pokey. What I'm doing is I'm going around the edge of the dragonfly using BT1. Then I go back in with BT2 because that's a little bit darker. And then I go back with BT1 and I kind of blend the two together. Then I take the blender pen and I blend that into the blank cardstock. So it really does look like a halo. It's dark around the dragonfly and then lighter, and then it just kind of blends into the paper. So there's so many uses for that blender pen. You can use it to correct mistakes. You can use it for something like this. I've seen it used to create dots and stripes, other patterns when you've colored something in solid. There's so many techniques online. Make sure you check out the Crafter's Companion YouTube channel and Spectrum Noir, because they have so many tips and tricks on how to use your Spectrum Noirs and how to get the best out of them. I watch them myself. So I pulled out my distress inks, but I'm going to continue with my coloring before I do that. So now I'm going to color the body of the dragonfly, and I'm just going to lay down CT2, which is a yellow, and then CT4, and blend those two together. The CT4 is my shadows. And that's pretty quick. And then I'm going to color in the wings. For the wings, first I laid down the HB1, and I actually used the chisel tip edge of my markers because it goes so much faster when I use the chisel edge. So I did that to color in the wings, and then I went back in with HB2 to do the shadows and like kind of the veins, some of the detail on the veins in the wings. I don't know if dragonflies really have veins, but whatever. So I did that, and I did all the wings the same, where I laid down the HB1, came in with the HB2, and then blended them back in using HB1. Then at the very end, I went in and I took HB3. I just went on the body of the dragonfly and just kind of pushed it out. You can kind of see here I did not blend right here. I did not blend that. I wanted that to kind of stand out a little bit. So dragonfly is colored. He's all done. There's a little shadow around him. He looks super cute. So here I'm going to use the Barn Door, which is a red distress ink, and I have my little ink pad, my little inker, and I'm just going to ink up the edges because, like I said, I did want that aged and distressed look. So I'm speeding it up again just so you don't have to sit here and watch me ink the edges. That's not exactly exciting, I know. So I'm going around and I'm using the red. I really like the look of like the red along with purple, yellow, and aqua or turquoise. So that's why I chose that color combo. So you can see the edges are inked. Then I decided too that I wanted to come back and I wanted to soften the background. I really wanted that dragonfly to stand out. So I came back to my pumice stone. And even though I used that to stamp my background text, I still came back in and I pushed it over the red and into the back of the paper. So it blends, the text is still visible, but then it's got another layer of ink over it, so it really adds definition. And I just went around the dragonfly, so it's a lot lighter in that area, so he really stands out. He's much more noticeable since I softened up the rest of the paper. You can really tell. So there we go. Now I'm going to come in with my distress tool. I've had this thing for a couple years. I don't use it all the time, but when I do, I love it. Since I was going for that aged look, I decided to distress the edges. So there it is. So I'm distressing all the edges, and then I'm going to come back in with that pumice stone again. I guess I really like that ink, huh? And I'm just going to ink up over the edges. I know distressing edges were so big for a while, and I don't do it that often, but I do like the way that it looks, especially when you pop it up on a card base. It's really noticeable. So here we go with the distress ink. Just going around the edges. I don't like leaving edges bare once I distress them. Okay, done with that. Then it's time to adhere the card to my card base. I always use Crafter's Companion adhesive foam. I have tons of it on hand at all times. When I order it, I always order in batches, so I never ever run out. It's the best adhesive foam that I've found so far. The great thing about it is once you stick it down, it's stuck. So I've had so many problems in the past using cheap foams. You know, you go to the store and you get like the 99-cent ones or something, or 50-cent ones, and they're so cheap. They pop off of the card. So I'll give my mom a card to give to one of her friends, and then before she can even give it to him, it's popped off. It's so embarrassing. So here, using this, it's on there. So there's the finished card. I put some 3D crystal lacquer on there, which is available in the Crafter's Companion store, and a little bit of bling right there. And there you go. All set. I hope you enjoyed this video. Here's one more look at the finished card. Thanks.